me start. So here's what I want to talk about, everybody. This world is coming unglued. And with all the planets that are about to go Gandanta, there's going to be some of the most out of control experiences. And I want everyone to know that, that we have to be concentrated on ourselves. And I see so many of your questions are coming in, and I don't, they're just coming too fast for me. Hold on one second, and I am going to, I'm going to be able to look at, okay. All right. Now, I was supposed to do this live with Victoria, but we couldn't get the Zoom to work. So now I'm doing it without her because I couldn't really connect with anyone. But hold on just a minute, because I want to be able to see, there we go, all of your questions while they're coming in. And let me see. Okay. Perfect. All right, I'm good with everything. So here is what I mainly wanted to go over with everyone is that these Gandanta planets, you realize I've been telling you so long about what Gandanta means. Gandanta means when planets go in the last degrees of water, which are 28, 29 degrees of Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces. And Mars is about to go Gandanta, and we are approaching hurricane season. But remember, this is not just the United States, it is around the world that everything is about to go through this out of control experience. And this is why I wanted to do this video today, so I could help people really get grounded, because we have to get grounded before these events start happening. And on the political front, there is going to be so much happening. I know everyone wants to know my prediction on who is the next president for the United States, but here's what I do want to say before I go into this, that I believe we may not even have a presidential election, because realize that something big is about to change between now and November. This is going to be the biggest change I think we've ever seen. And as for the coronavirus, let me go into that for a moment, because the coronavirus, I mean, it's been going on for so long. Everybody's starting to come to a place where they feel depressed, where they're not, because you know, this lockdown, everyone's coming to a point where, when will it end? What do I see with that? Let me be very clear and concise about what I see with this coronavirus. And I always base it on where Rahu and Ketu are, and particularly the cycle of Mars, because Mars is the planet of energy. So the most important thing about this is that once we have Ketu leave the nakshatra Mula, which will happen September 19th, we're going to start to have hope. But just because the node changes doesn't mean that everything changes that day, September 19th. It's got to really get situated out of that nakshatra, out of that sign. So Rahu and Ketu actually shift signs. When does that happen? It happens September 19th. This is when I use the true node of this year, 2020. But then things are going to start moving a certain direction. It's not like it's going to happen overnight on that day. You have to realize that. But I think there's going to be cures or inventions or something. And if it is a vaccine, I know many of you are opposed to vaccines. I know what you mean by that. But it will give most of the world hope if there's something like that, so that we can start operating in a different way. And, you know, one of my sons showed me some statistics last night that I had no idea about. Let me share that with you. And it is a statistical fact that in Hong Kong, they had so many cases of the coronavirus right at first, and then it subsided radically. And comparing it to New York City, they hardly had any deaths, even though the cases started over there. Of course, it started in China. But here's what's so interesting. Everyone wore a mask. And I know some of you may be opposed to wearing masks, but hey, in China and Hong Kong, everyone wore a mask. And guess what? They haven't had hardly any deaths. And compared to the United States, it's rampant. So that's food for thought. I just want to put that out, that the mask may be the best tool we have until we have something else come along that really subsides this coronavirus. But what will be happening is, I think by the end of the year, this will be after November, after December, after we have the solar eclipse in December, there will be a healing. There will be a major healing. And I predict that by January through March of 2021, it'll be history. And we will be able to operate the way we were before. Not exactly, don't get me wrong about that either, but we'll be able to pretty much operate in a way that we aren't controlled by this virus. And there is the hope that's coming about. But I really want everyone to take a deep breath and look within and ask, what did you learn through this predicament? Because every difficult situation in our life, there is a lesson. There's something for us to learn, because everything happens for a reason, everything in life. And I think this was a really, really hard test and lesson. And one thing I want to say that I've learned from this is to really watch my thoughts, not let them go to the negative. And I want to give you guys some tools to deal with. And then I'm going to go into exactly what will be happening. But first of all, I don't want you guys to kill the messenger. So whatever I am seeing with the political elections coming up here, do remember that I am trying my best to be objective so that I can help people, because that's what I use astrology for. And I don't want people to get so emotional about politics, because politics is politics. And political leaders are going to do everything in their power to get elected for their own purposes, their own, political purposes. And it really has nothing to do with astrology and my predictions. I'm trying my best to be extremely objective. And as I have always said, remember this, that whoever comes into power is a reflection of the masses. And with everyone being so out of control emotionally, with the riots, with the protests that have turned into violent protests, yes, of course, we have the right to protest peacefully. But when it gets out of hand and there's destruction, remember, we're going to attract a leader that reflects this. So whoever comes into power will be a reflection of the masses. Always remember that. So what can you do? You can really work on yourself. And one time in my life, when I had the worst year of my life, it was 2004. Both my parents died, and pretty much I felt like over the years following that, I lost everything. And I had to pull myself together and realize what it was I needed to do to change myself, because every time something becomes really difficult, there's a lesson to be learned in it. There's something we're here to learn through. So what I really focused in on was, one thing, journaling. Every time I write my newsletter, I feel like I'm journaling something spiritually to help people with. And most of all, to help myself process my thoughts and feelings, to grow and improve myself. So number one, journaling. To write your thoughts out makes it real. In other words, it's not floating around in your head constantly, and you got to make it real. So the other thing that when I process my thoughts and feelings to heal, the next thing is work on what you're thinking about, what you think about every day. If you're thinking about negative thoughts constantly or getting emotionally embroiled in all of the electional stuff that's going on here, politics, it's going to bring your energy down, and you will not be living the life in the positive. You'll be living life. You're going to be creating negative events in your own personal life. So we got to change the way we think and the way we believe. That's one of the next things. The other thing that I want you to work on is your breath. So when we do yoga, when we do any of the transformational practices, yoga, and exercise forces us to breathe deeply. Breath work takes the fear out. So work on your breath, journal, change your thoughts. And one thing I want you to really focus in on is what comes out of your mouth, what you're saying. Change those negative words into positive, confident words, because every time you put out your lack of self-confidence, it brings you down more. So all of these little tools and techniques are what I had to do in order to change and transform my life. And let me say something, it all worked. So I don't want to see everyone fighting about who's going to be the president and what they believe is right or wrong, because here's what I do want to say. All of us want the same thing. And what is the same thing? For our country and our world to come together, be at peace, and for everyone to be happy. And most of us think a certain leader can enable that, where the other one will not enable that. But let's get down to basics. We all want the same thing. We all want everyone to be happy and come from a place of peace. And that's what I'm here to remind everyone of. So I don't want to see all the fighting. I don't want to see all the negative thoughts and beliefs about who should be president or what the world's supposed to be like. But let me remind you of what we're about to go through astrologically, because when Mars starts to slow down, station, and go retrograde, many things are going to come about. Intense anger, intense hostility. And we can't do this as light workers. We cannot be part of this because that just adds fuel to the fire. And so Mars is going to station, and Mars is going to go retrograde September 9th. This will be at 4 degrees of Aries. Remember, I'm always talking about the sidereal system of astrology. And it will station again to go direct. This will be November 14th at 21 degrees of Pisces. So every time a planet goes retrograde or direct, it means it is standing still at those times, and it is so much more powerful. So my point is, since Mars deals with anger, frustration, rage, weapons, war, the fact that it's slowing down and stationing means these energies will be much more intense around the world. So I believe we haven't seen nothing yet as to what's going to be happening. I think the last part of 2020 is going to be more intense and severe than what we've already gone through with the coronavirus. And so you can see things starting to heat up. But Mars will go Gandanta also in the process of going back and forth from Aries into Aries and back into Pisces and back into Aries. During that process, it's going to cross over the Gandanta degrees 3 times, which is 29 degrees of Pisces. And the Gandanta periods are going to be, and it's coming up very, very soon. So that's why you're starting to see these hurricanes start to brew out in the Atlantic over here in the United States. So the first time that it's Gandanta is going to be August 14th through the 16th. The next one is going to be October 5th through the 7th. And the last one will be December 22nd to the 25th. So what is Gandanta again? When things become out of control. That's what we're going to experience. Things are going to be completely out of control. It's going to be emotionally, but literally too, because Gandanta does figure into drowning, especially being in the last degrees of water. So I've noticed some of you talking about all of this, somebody's saying as all of this, really, are you guys really going to talk about politics like this? This is not what this platform is for. It's to find peace. I don't care who you want for president. It's okay. You can want certain people, but you can't be angry because you're adding fuel to the fire. And I want you guys, and I don't want to hear who you want. Don't be saying this guy's going to win or that guy's going to win. Stop it right now, because we all want the same thing. But when you go about it in an angry disposition, this is what's causing the world to be in turmoil. And we got to come from a place of love. That is not loving and that is not caring. And I'm here to help people uplift their spirits, because really all of these negative things that are happening globally, whether it be hurricanes or earthquakes, is because of the human emotion that is triggered. And that's what I'm talking about with Mars and Gandanta, out of control. Now, remember this too, when the nodes do shift signs and K2 comes into Scorpio at 29 degrees, remember the nodes travel backwards. And when it enters a sign, it enters at 29 degrees. Well, that's the end of Scorpio, a water sign. So K2, even though it leaves Mula, is Gandanta. And that's another variable. And then we're going to have, to add fuel to the fire, we're going to have a solar eclipse. This will be December 14th. And this solar eclipse is going to be really intense. So it is December 14th. It's going to be at 28 degrees of Scorpio. And that is Gandanta. And that's emotional. That's the turmoil that's about to be coming. And we can shift that energy. Remember, astrology, it is a trend. It is a futuristic trend of energy. And if you see the energy that's going to be very intense and difficult, then we can really, really stop participating in that. Let me tell you something about astrology, how I see it. I think this is going to make a lot of sense to everyone. When you look at a birth chart, remember your birth chart is a sum accumulation of everything that you have been in the past, including all of your past lifetimes combined, and even the past in this life. So if you see difficulty in a birth chart, then you see what needs to be worked on and changed. Because if everything is a sum accumulation of everything that we have been in our past, then we, through conscious awareness, can work on and change that. So for example, if you have a very difficult chart for, let's say, marriage, okay? Let's say you've got Mars, Rahu, or Saturn, all of these malefics in your seventh house, and possibly even in the Navamsha. So you would look at that chart as being difficult relationships. But you've got to see beyond that. What is that telling you? That's been your past experiences. That doesn't mean that you're destined to always have that experience for the rest of your life or for lifetimes to come, but it's telling you what you need to learn and how you can change that. And if you do, then you break the karmic cycle where you don't have to experience the negative karmas that have been repeating themselves over and over again in the past. So that's what astrology is used for, to see how we can change what hasn't been working before to transform our lives and make our lives better. So please use the charts, your birth chart, to see where you can improve and make your life better. Don't just be following the patterns that have been activated from lifetime to lifetime. So for most people, when they choose not to change, to just go on their reactions and emotions without being conscious and aware, they will just keep recreating lifetime after lifetime the same karmas. So looking at a birth chart can really give you the tools that you need to better see yourself, to change your karmic positions in life, change your life, to make it where you are fulfilled, you're living a life of purpose and happy, full of love. That's what we all want. And that's what I want to promote through astrology. Not looking at your astrological birth chart as a fate and destiny that cannot be changed, because we do have free will. And we need our free will to change our lives. Because if it were all going to be that way forever, according to your birth chart, there's no purpose for us to be here just to act out a script or a play. We have to change ourselves and grow on a spiritual level. And that's work. But we do have to change. If we don't like what we're seeing in our life right now, you have to change. And that's what I want to say, to work on ourselves and make ourselves come from a place of higher consciousness awareness, come from your heart, come from love. It is going to be very tough for the next 6 months, because everything is going to be focused through what? Politics, everything is going to be our political viewpoints. And this isn't even just in the United States. Well, let me remind you, this is the astrology of the world. And we always have to come from a place of love, of connection to the heart, not anger, not blame. We cannot blame political leaders ever for what's going on in the world. We need to look into ourselves, because the political leaders are a reflection, a mirror of ourselves. So if we can change ourselves, we can have an effect. Trust me, this is the law of the universe. We can have an effect on everyone and everything else. But coming from anger, coming from all of these emotions, negative emotions, are only going to add fuel to the fire of what's about to be happening over the course of the next 6 months. So I want everybody to do some deep reassessment as to what you're feeling, and come from a place of positive energy. And always, I want our mantra to be, and that's another thing, using affirmations and mantras are so healing. So I want you to come from a place where you use the mantra, may the best thing for the world for its highest good come about now. And sometimes it might deal with some destruction, because that might be the only way to heal and clear. And that's what I believe is happening at this point in our lives. There has to be a clearing, because things have gotten out of hand and are out of control emotionally. And yes, I think there's going to be a lot going on. There's going to be a lot that's revealed that we had no idea was truth. And what are some of the things that I see being revealed? Well, let me put it this way, where Rahu and Ketu are going into Scorpio and Taurus, Neptune will be at the midpoint. And this is going to be around December and January and February. And that means incredible truths are going to be revealed that we never thought possible during these times. I know this is true. And it may be political and it may be something more, but I definitely think there will be a healing, and there's going to be some discoveries with health and healing that will really change the world in a very positive light. So let's focus on the healing instead of the destruction, and that's what we will bring about. Another thing that I see happening is in January and February, there's going to be a stellium of planets in Capricorn. And when this comes about, you're going to see an amazing transformational change around the world in government. So I think here's another thing. If we have elections, if we do, there may be martial law or something coming. It may not even come into play. But if we do, I've told you guys this many times, whoever is, we will not know who the president is in November. Because why? On election day, Mercury stations to go direct. Same exact thing happened the year of 2000 with Bush and Gore. We didn't know who the president was till December. This is going to be the same thing. And in December, remember, we have a solar eclipse on December 14th. One more thing is Mars will station November 14th. So we've got November 14th, Mars stationing, which is going to bring out protest and violence. So whatever's happening on the political front is going to be major attacks. People are going to be so angry. And then by the time we do get to Inauguration Day, guess what? Another big shift and change will happen. And I don't think whoever is in political office will remain in office. That's another thing that I'm seeing. So it is so hard to predict because really I've been studying both charts of Biden and Trump. And what I've been seeing is good and bad for both of them. This is not what I normally see. It is really, really hard to decipher which one is going to come through. What chart is strongest because of all of the shifts and the changes. I'll say this, Mars, while it's in Pisces, which Mars is going to be in Pisces on and off for some time. Let me tell you when Mars is in Pisces, because this is really important for you to know. Mars is in Pisces right now, but it entered June 18th, will be there till August 15th. And then it will shift back into Pisces October 4th through December 24th. And the whole time that Mars is in Pisces, it really affects the United States negatively. Okay, because what happens is Mars will be opposed natal Saturn in the 10th house of the United States chart. Plus it will be sending a full aspect, a square to the sun in the United States chart, almost exactly. When it stations at 21 degrees, November 14th, the United States sun is 22 degrees of Gemini, while Mars will be 21 degrees of Pisces. The sun in a chart represents the president, the leader. So there are major attacks. And I think it's going to be extremely vile and violent. And we just have to be positive because we cannot be a part of this extreme emotion. So what am I saying? I'm saying the position of Mars being Gandanta, the stations, plus the eclipses coming up are going to be radical and are going to really affect our world. So with that, I'm going to start taking some questions over here. So bear with me because I can't read these very fast. It's coming up. So please. Okay, a lot of people said, yeah, they saw that in Trump's chart too. Yeah, it does not look good for Trump. I will say that. Let's see. So So I don't know exactly if this is all figuratively or physically, but there's going to be so much emotions and so many attacks. And I will tell you this, I did do a video on who is going to be the next president. I take it very systematically, looking at all the transits and the dashas and the eclipses. But I'm still not totally convinced. So you're going to have to wait for this video to come out. And I know that whoever you want to be president, whatever I say, remember, it is not my choice, whatever it may be, because I want to be objective. And I, believe it or not, I don't even like politics. This is something that I've always tried to steer clear from, but everyone expects an astrologer to make these predictions. So I have to come through with making a prediction, but please don't kill the messenger. So I will put that video out, but I'm still not even convinced that we're going to have an election. So this could all change very rapidly. And I do think maybe we should start looking at whoever the vice presidents are, since I see so many things happening in that direction. And Biden hadn't even chosen anyone yet, but I was thinking if he chose, which I know she said she refuses, and I totally understand. I would not want to run for president or anything like that, but it just would be the worst job in the world, right? Everyone hates you, and anything that goes wrong, you're the blame. So I don't know why anybody wants that job, but I often thought, you know whose chart was extremely strong? I just looked at her chart and it was amazing, but she said she doesn't want to run. So I guess I need to quit looking at her chart. But Michelle Obama, her chart, she has exalted Mars. And when that Saturn and Jupiter come over her exalted Mars, man, that would be something very powerful. But she's not running, so forget that one. I'm just trying to see. And probably I shouldn't even put out my presidential pick till I do see who the Biden chooses for their vice president. And, you know, looking at Trump, well, I didn't see that great a strength in many ways, in some ways. But for one thing, let me just say one thing about Trump. His sun, Rahu, are in the 10th house. And consider when Rahu shifts into Taurus, Rahu will be activating his sun and Rahu in his 10th house. So that's extraordinarily strong. And let me say this, his sun and Rahu form a Raja Yoga in the 10th house. Plus the sun rules his chart because he's a Leo Lagna, a Leo ascendant. So if the sun rules the ascendant, it's in the 10th house. And Rahu gives, Rahu is like a Jupiter, it gives, but with a price. So sometimes you regret what you get with Rahu. But Rahu coming over his sun in the 10th house, his sun is 29 degrees. So as soon as Rahu shifts towards the end of September, going to be some things coming his way that are going to be extremely strong for his chart. But let me give you the counter to this, because K2, and it's going to be a K2 eclipse at 28 degrees of Scorpio, is going to be crossing over Trump's moon in the 4th house. So in other words, he's going to have a nodal return, and K2 will be on his moon. The solar eclipse will be on his moon in the 4th house. Now his moon rules the what? 12th house. It's loss. So although you can see that the likelihood of him winning with Rahu being on his sun in the 10th house looks extremely strong, quite the opposite is seen by K2 being crossing over his moon in the fourth house. And so I think there is something of a great loss, could deal with family, could deal with dealing something with a woman. So there's a lot more to be seen, not just from Rahu going through the 10th. There's something about a loss. So it's very, very hard to analyze. Now I am going to take some questions here. And I don't see, yeah, somebody asked about the Mahadasha that the US is going through right now. I did notice that they're in Rahu, and that is like a really intense time. So I did look at that, and a lot of people do not believe that you can take a Mahadasha for something that's more than 120 years. So I don't know how I feel about that. Okay, alien contact, that keeps coming up over and over. I see your questions here. You know, I think if it's going to happen, if we're going to know, I think it's going to be where Neptune comes to the midpoint of Rahu and Ketu, and that's coming up once the node shift signs here. And I do think it'll be towards the end of the year or the beginning of 2021. I think we're going to know, and I do believe there's got to be more to us being the only intelligent life form in this universe. This universe has billions and trillions of suns. So I do believe in that. And I do think it's about to happen, if not the end of this year, the beginning of next year. So that's my take on that, based on the fact that Neptune is going to be at the midpoint of Rahu and Ketu. It means unusual truths will be coming out. So let me see. Someone else said Saudi Sati for Trump. Well, his moon is in Scorpio, and Saudi Sati is where Saturn comes to the sign before, the sign of, or the sign after the moon. So he is not in Saudi Sati because his moon is in Scorpio. Saturn is in Capricorn. Okay. So somebody says, will there be a new disease in November? You know, that's a good question. I'll tell you why. Because we are looking at the tail of the scorpion when we have K2 go into Scorpio, which of course is going to be the end of September. And as K2, whenever we have eclipses, by the way, the nodes stand still if you're looking at the true node. So the nodes, K2 will be at 29, 28 degrees of Scorpio around the time of the eclipse for 3 months. And that is the tail of the scorpion. And if you consider the tail of the scorpion, it's poison. So there could be something about disease, or somehow there's something to do with poison that's put in the water or something like that, something about poisoning. What came to me intuitively, it could even be that, it could be figuratively, that the illusions of what the media released to us, that could be like poison. Or I really think that maybe somebody, some very powerful person could even be poisoned. That's what I kind of thought, but I hope that that is not right. So, oh, the stock market. Yes, let me fill you guys in on what I think. I've been telling everyone that the end of July, the stock market will start to go down. Told everyone in my free newsletter. So remember, if you want to get all my information written out and delivered to your email address, please go on to my website and sign up for my newsletter, because I give all this information monthly in great detail, even all the aspects for every month and what it all means. But what I'm seeing is definitely, I think that the stock market's going to go down with all this emotion and turmoil. Remember, the stock market is controlled by human emotion, and it's going to, I think it's going to go down, but I'm very, very strongly in the belief that it will rise again around January through April. But then there's going to be another whole host of events that could cause it to go down. So I'm saying if it goes down a lot, and it's already going down, that it could be a time to invest, because I see after January, February, and March, the stock market will rise again. And that could be a time that you could sell off because, and I think it could be very lucrative if you invested when it goes down again. Because remember this, I know I've been telling you about airline stocks and the stocks that deal with anything to do with the travel business. We will be traveling again next spring. So those stocks that are at a record low will come back up. So that's my take on the stock market. Yes, I believe it's going to go down. And gold and real estate are the best buys that you can do. Why? Well, gold is extremely high, but people invest in these type of things when they feel like the stock market's not going to be relied on. So you're going to see that the pricings of these tangible things that give a sense of security will go up. Okay, so let me see. Anything else I can have? Human trafficking exposed? Yes, definitely. That's going to come into being, and it needs to. That is just the most horrible thing. Let me see, is there anything else? I have gold and silver now. Yes, I think, people are wanting things that give them a sense of security, and people believe that gold and silver is a good thing. Southwest stock, it's down now. It's going to go back up in the spring. Yes. Oil and gas. Yeah, I think oil and gas will go up, but we're going to start moving more towards, I think, electric cars. So, but it will go up, definitely, because the United States is definitely going to be more of a place that's going to be providing oil and gas throughout the world. Somebody mentioned cryptocurrency. I always said that this is the time of year that people are going to be investing more into that. And I still think that's the wave of the future, cryptocurrency. It's just that I believe businesses are going to begin to, in the future, have their own cryptocurrency. So it's going to be where it's going to peak, and I don't think it's going to continue forever, because more businesses are going to have their own cryptocurrency. And, eventually we'll probably get rid of paper money. So. All right. So, and another thing is, I don't believe in all the other smaller cryptocurrencies, mainly Bitcoin. That's the one that's the mother of them all. So let me see. People are asking me about all this disputes between Turkey and Greece and Pakistan and China and India. The whole world's going to be at odds. And another thing I want to add, in December, when Jupiter and Saturn come together and exactly conjunct, that's going to be where all the countries are all pulling in. There's no more globalization going on, where people have fair trade throughout the world. Countries are going to be more independent, relying on their own resources. So all the countries are starting to pull in, and that's going to have an effect on the stock market as well. Okay. Okay, let's see. China, I was looking at China's chart there. Yeah, I see a lot of problems for China. Of course, it's already happening. Will there be a forced vaccinations? I don't think so. I think it's going to be your choice. I just can't see that. And yes, this is going to be the worst hurricane season we've ever seen because of all the Gandanta planets. Yeah. So, okay, the film industry, the film industry, they do pretty much reveal what they want us to know. So be careful what you see coming out of Hollywood. But I will say this, and I've said this before, you're not going to like this, but I think Disney's a good investment, because once all the parks open up, Disney stock will go up. But hey, Disney owns all the film industries too. So you may not want to support that, depending on, you know, you have to figure out when you're investing what you want to support. You can't be investing in a stock you don't believe in, or you don't feel like it's good for the world either. Okay. So let me take one or two more questions. And will there be a debate for the presidency? You know, with the way things are going to go, maybe not. It looks pretty crazy. I know, and some people are thinking maybe no. Okay. Okay, so I think I pretty much gave my analysis in the stock market. I keep seeing people asking about that. I say it's gonna go down, but it's gonna go back up around the beginning of the year after the inauguration of the president. Things are gonna get back to normal, and I do know. Let me tell you why I know this. I'm not getting these off feelings. I'm always basing things astrologically. The reason why. Jupiter will be in Capricorn, and Jupiter in Capricorn is debilitated, but it's totally supported by Saturn. It sort of cancels the debilitation. The last time Jupiter and Saturn were in Capricorn were in 1961, and the economy was booming in the United States at that time. Plus, but at that time, remember they're in Earth signs, Capricorn, then Rahu's going to be in Taurus, and Rahu and Jupiter are going to be aspecting each other by a trine. And that's always expansion and wealth. Remember, Taurus is the sign of money and wealth, with Jupiter trining it with the power of Saturn. Remember, when Jupiter and Saturn come together, it deals with manifestation. So that's why I see that the economy will probably come on a good rise. Now, it could happen that it does, you know, that the drop in the stock market's not going to be that severe because of that. But come around the beginning of the year, when you have Jupiter and Rahu come to a closer degree, this will be around the end of February, when they're trining each other, the economy, but particularly the stock market, will be booming again. So the coronavirus will be history. Okay, so I think I have covered a lot today. And once again, I apologize that Victoria wasn't able to come on today. It was my fault. I couldn't get the Zoom to operate with somebody inviting someone, but I will get that fixed, and we will resume our meetings where we come together, and I'm going to have a lot of interesting interviews coming up. Especially, remember, I did the Rising Star. Well, I have 2 rising stars I'm going to be interviewing coming up here very, very soon. So keep posted, and thank you for joining me today. I hope I shed some light on everything coming about, and I appreciate all of you so much. So come from the heart, be calm, be peaceful, expect the best for the world, and so it will be. Thank you.